The trade deadline is passed. It was a very busy trade deadline. We'll react to that. We got a tricky week 9 coming up on us here with 6 teams on bye. We got Davis Mattek here to help us guide us through all the nooks and crannies of this particular week. Stay tuned on the RotoWire podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff Erickson here. We've got Davis Mattek, and Davis has long been a friend of the company, friend of the program. It used to be on the RotoWire XM show many, many times with me and Chris Liss. It's been a few years since we've talked, Davis. So happy to have you on. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, always. This is actually true. The fantasy sports content that I use in my own personal play the most, the RotoWire soccer page that is updated by, used to be Andrew Laird. Now It is my old buddy Trevor. I use everyone's tools and stuff for different things, but I pretty much use that RotoWire soccer page every single day. It's a wealth of information.
Yeah, people don't realize we're a soccer company and a tennis company. We crush it there. And Laird did a great job of building that up. Now he's with So Rare. But we miss him. It's great stuff. And big day then for you, Champions League. I imagine you've got a lot of irons in the fire for that.
Yes, yeah. Champions League is probably the singular greatest sporting event on this earth. I really can't get enough of it. And we're about 16, 17 days away from the start of the World Cup. It's coming fast.
It is. It really is. Today's the last day of pool play for the World Cup. I'm a Liverpool guy, and I like Dortmund too. So they're both through to the round of 16. Very happy about that. So all good for there. Let's talk about, first of all, let's start with the trade deadline. Really busy day, pleasantly so. And in fact, Adam Schefter was saying there were more trades yesterday and, on trade deadline day than he can ever remember. Maybe in the last 30 years, I think 10 trades yesterday. Plus you add in like the McCaffrey trade, the Robert Quinn trade, other trades that happened before the actual deadline, James Robinson as well. It's been a very active trade market. Football's starting to try to catch up to other leagues in terms of the trade deadline.
Yeah, and I was saying this earlier to my buddy Craig Mish on Sports Grid TV. The NFL would absolutely love for this to become the norm, because what keeps the NBA in the news cycle? This is true. Like Zach Lowe and like all the big NBA guys, they get more listens on their off-season podcast for trades than they do breaking down the NBA finals. People care way more in the NBA about player movement and who's going where and trades and all of that than they do care about the results on the field. And so the NFL already has this big advantage in people watching the games, that if they were able to add that other layer of players constantly changing teams, add that to the drama, they would absolutely love that.
Absolutely. And it's true. And the thing is, the NFL is already the master of staying in the news cycle. You get schedule release day, and it becomes this big deal, like dominating over actual live sports going on. And it's like you've known who they're going to play each other. It's just the ordering. But they blow it up to be this big deal, and everybody wants in. And they're really good at staying in the news cycle, like you said. So this is just one more log on the fire for them. So let's jump right into it here. Let's talk about what happened this week. Let's talk about starting off with the trade that started the day yesterday. TJ Hawkinson going from the Lions to the Vikes, a second and a third. They send back, they get back a fourth, they send back a fourth over to Minnesota, plus I think a conditional one on top of that there. But Minnesota lost Irv Smith. They get Hawkinson. They're 6-1. The Packers are terrible this year so far. They're in a great spot to go for it. They went for it.
They did. I don't know if I would have traded 2 second-round picks for TJ Hawkinson. He is, I guess, to be fair, he is an extremely good run blocker, like maybe the best at his position other than George Kittle. I know I happen to look, his PFF grades at run blocking the last 2 years haven't been great. I would be disinclined to take that as predictive. I think he's probably still as good as he was as a rookie and as he was at Iowa. And it certainly cannot be bad with Adam Thielen. He's age 32 season now, to give them another guy who's closer to Justin Jefferson in age I mean, and their options without Irv Smith were like Ben Ellefson and Johnny Munt, two like
Right.
just stone blocking guys. So I mean, and another thing is, again, because I follow the NBA so much, my new thing in sports is I'm just not faulting teams going for it. Like
Right.
I'm totally done being like, I don't know, it's a bit of an overpay and it's long term. It's like, no, any team that's going for it and trying to win games, I'm just going to give them a thumbs up.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that because I felt the same way yesterday with that and with the Claypool trade too. I see all this like, I can't believe they gave up a second round pick. Well, let's look at second round picks. There are some that have really hit. There's also plenty of Andy Isabellas lurking around the corner there too. You can miss on a second round pick just as easily as you can. If you get a fully formed player that can help you right now, and you've got a chance to win, you go for it. I have no problem with that. And that's not even the Bears case. We'll get to them in a second, but I like it. Now, I think perhaps in terms of target share, it hurts Hawkinson just a little bit, just because they do have Thielen. Obviously they have Jefferson. Even Osborne is a pretty decent third receiver. Does that, I think I might move him down like maybe 1 or 2 notches in the overall tight ends, but let's face it, tight ends a wasteland anyhow. I'm not really that concerned.
And to be honest, I was like not a Hawkinson drafter, particularly in like the tight end premium high stakes stuff. I like
Right.
him and Dalton Schultz and these guys. I kind of missed that range entirely. I would say that Amon-Ra St. Brown, when he's been on the field, is just so good in the areas of the field where Hawkinson would be expected to win. I don't really think it bumps him that much. And more importantly, Minnesota, I mean, how like we hear about these new coaches getting hired and them getting aggressive throwing the ball, and then it never really happens. But Minnesota is like night and day compared to the Mike Zimmer teams. They really have been one of the more aggressive passing rate over expectation teams. Kirk is playing pretty well. I'm probably actually inclined to say it's pretty bullish, even if he's doing it on a 14% target share.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. Who steps into Detroit besides Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Well, I mean, Khalif Raymond does have a 16% target share over the last 3 games. We'll see if that holds. Kind of interesting. Brock Wright played over 70% of the snaps in the games that Hawkinson missed last year, but the Lions drafted this guy James Mitchell out of Virginia Tech in the 5th round, and I went to go look at his college football reference page to just kind of get an idea of what he is, and he was like a Taysom Hill guy in college. He had 4 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns as a freshman. He returned some punts. He threw some passes. Like he's like a crazy athlete prospect type guy, but he got into a game. I mean, how many 5th round rookie tight ends get into a game and catch a touchdown if they're their rookie year? Like not that many. A lot of these guys are, we never see them. Took Jody Fortson 2 years on the Chiefs roster to earn playing time. So I'm bidding a little bit on Brock Wright this week, but I'm not going to be surprised if those bids are totally dead and it ends up being this Mitchell fella.
Yeah, and Brock Wright's hurt a little bit too. He's got had a head injury, so something to watch for that. And maybe forced to play Mitchell this week. We'll see. Detroit's just a mess. Like I had a hard time with ranks anyhow this week. Like what do you do with DeAndre Swift? I mean, he says he's not 100%, but he anticipates his role getting greater. I mean, okay. Jamal Williams is going to get his touches too. We know that even with Swift is 100%, you have to give Williams, some of that share, if for no other reason, just to try to preserve Swift.
Well, I wonder if they just sit Swift this week anyway, because it's like, what's the point of having him out? I mean, they're playing Justin Jackson and Craig Reynolds, the other guy. I mean, clearly, if Swift plays, you're starting him, and I think you can also feel comfortable if you were a team that ran in Jamal Williams. I think you could just kind of start him because like running back is so bad anyways. Like what you have, Miles Sanders, Antonio Gibson, these guys. Like it's really just like that. If they score a touchdown, they can get to 14. If they don't score a touchdown, they're going to have a bad week. So it's like I don't think Jamal Williams is that different, and I don't think Swift is that different right now. Now. Sure. Eventually, assuming he gets back to full health, I mean, the guy's averaging like 8.5 yards per touch this season. So like, I think you can feel pretty good about him eventually getting to 16, 17, 18 touches a game on obviously not that good of efficiency. I mean, the Lions, like if you have a Lion who's playing right now, you just feel good because their offense has been so fantasy friendly.
It has, and their defense too, because they give up quick scores, and then you
Yes.
get back out on the field there, so that's always nice too. They, hosting the Packers this week. It's interesting. Can Aaron Rodgers get well against the Lions? I mean, it's typically there's been some shootouts between these two teams, but it's one of those. There's a couple of one of those movable objects versus resistible forces, where both units are pretty bad or facing each other. That game, I also like, Rams running game versus the Bucks run defense. Two really bad units matching up against each other. Who wins out?
I mean, there's no way that the Packers fix. Like, I just don't believe it. Like every time Rodgers talks about his teammates, he's just throwing them under the bus. He did the McAfee show yesterday and was like, yeah, that Bills game was the first time we were ready to play all year. And then you're like, oh, the game you were ready to play, you got absolutely like embarrassed. It's like, and I mean, we do know that quarterback production is pretty sensitive to wide receiver skill, and he is throwing to like a bunch of jabronis and Romeo Dobbs out there. So, is Rodgers done? I don't know. But I don't foresee them getting better against the Lions. Like, I think they're going to stick to the same stubborn game plan. I guess the one thing is every time they give up a touchdown, they keep doing these shot plays, these, deep play action, 70-yard bombs. And I think Christian Watson's conservatively dropped about 19 of them. So if he connects on one of those, if the Lions go up 7-0, play action to Aaron Jones, Dobbs is running free. And if they connect on that one, then maybe it'll be differently and they'll be, they'll just be in a little bit more of a positive game flow. Because what it feels like to me is they get down 10 points and everyone on the team knows it's over. They get down 10 and they're just like, what's even the point of trying out here?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing is they did rediscover Aaron Jones exists in this last game, and that seemed to work. I don't know, maybe use him a little bit more often there. One of the huge disappointments is AJ Dillon, just being completely marginalized on this team. I think he has 3 carries inside the 10 this year. Really never saw that coming.
And I after that first week, after that first game of the season, I was like, oh man, I didn't draft enough AJ Dillon. This guy's getting targets. He's getting goal line carries. Like, he's going to bury me. And then he really has not had one effective play since that first week, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is really crazy. I don't understand it. Got a little banged up in the game against the Bills on Sunday night. We'll see if he practices this week. But he falls squarely into that too good to cut, but not good enough to start category, which I just hate.
Total roster. He's like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, you're not going to cut Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he might score 2 touchdowns,
right?
But you never feel good about starting him. Like, anytime you start him, you're like, well, I might literally get like 2 points here.
Yeah, and we got 6 teams on bye this week. This is when you need AJ Dillon. You need to be able to play him this week if he's going to be on your roster. If you've got Barkley, or you've got or any of the there's like 3 of the top 5 running backs are on bye this week. You're really scrambling to find somebody, and yet you don't feel comfortable playing him. It's just hell. I hate it.
Yeah, it is absolutely miserable. I mean, which is part of the reason why, I mean, the old adage in fantasy football really did used to be like, oh, well, you always want to be starting a running back at your flex position. And now it's like, I can't even really imagine starting a running back. I would have to have like an embarrassment of riches at running back to be even over like, your McLaurin's, your Devonta Smith, Chase Claypool. It's like the only wide receiver right now who I drafted a bunch of, who I'm just sitting, is Drake London. Like, I just want the Falcons to have to sit and think about what they've done, because it's so like, he's so frustrating.
But they won't. They're in first place. They feel justified right now. That's the thing that's so wrong about this, is they feel like, well, we're 4-4. We're doing better than everybody else in the division. Show me their air here. And it's that moral hazard thing. Do you keep your job, try to compete this year, or try to do the right thing for the long term? And right now, they're going this year. They're not looking at development at all. And you're not going to see Desmond Ridder on the field either because of that. And you probably should be seeing him on the field.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're right. I mean, and the same thing with the Titans too. Like, we're not going to see Malik Willis. They're just going to cakewalk win that division. No one's putting any pressure on them. The Colts stink. The Texans stink. The Jaguars have way underperformed their metrics.
Yep.
And but same thing with Ridder. Like, I thought, but honestly, I would have set the line at like week 8 on when we would see Desmond Ridder. And now I would probably be surprised to see him before week 14, week 15, maybe. And who knows, maybe the Falcons are still in it then. If the Buccaneers, like if 9 wins takes that division, we might not see Ritter at all.
Right. That's right. And we could be going through this again next year too, because, we saw Kyle Pitts get kind of unlocked last week, but still London suffered. London had 1 target in a game where they are trailing in the first half by 21 points, 13 targets total. I mean, some of that was the Bengals were just burying Mariota in the second half every time he dropped back. So that had something to do with it, but it's just endlessly frustrating. I get it. Let's before we move on to the next trade, I want to talk about quick note from our friends at No House Advantage. No House Advantage is our title sponsor for the podcast here in football season. They are changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. You can play in pick'em contests versus other people for the shot at winning big cash prizes. Download the app, choose a contest, select your player props, earn points for correct picks, and climb the leaderboard for your shot at hundreds of thousands of dollars every week. You can also test your skills versus the house and 20 times your entry if you hit all your picks. Bet on up to 5 player prop over-unders and individual player matchups across every major sports league, including NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, and NASCAR. Sign up now with promo code NHAWIRE. That's NHAWIRE at nohouseadvantage.com, or download the app on the app stores to get a first deposit match up to $25. Make sure to check out No House Advantage today and experience daily fantasy sports redefined, because it's not just how you play, but also where you play. You won't want to miss out on this. I'm here with Davis Mattek. You can catch Davis in many, many media places, including the Swolecast, the Takecast, and Sports Grid, as you mentioned, with Craig Mish. And Craig, man, he's like Mr. Marlin now. He's like, he gets all the scoops for the Marlins. I love it.
He gets all the scoops. I mean, Craig, he loves baseball much more than I do. I mean, I guess if the Kansas City Royals ever we got a new manager, we got a new GM. I mean, maybe a potential, and it's not the American League Central, certainly not the most competitive of divisions, given how much that division spends as a whole. So maybe I'll change on that. If we get and they kind of did at the end of the season, they kind of just went to the young guys. I think the last week of the season, every guy other than Salvador Perez was under the age of 28 and had been in. I think it was that every guy on the roster had been at the Royals AAA the year before, which is, I mean, it's pretty cool. I've been waiting for them to do this forever.
Yeah, for them, I think it's just a matter of they really have to develop pitching better. I
can't even. This is a whole other podcast. They're like
yes, it is. It is.
They're like the worst pitching development organization in baseball. They draft these guys in the first round, and then they're all middle relievers in 3 years.
Yeah, it's painful, and they don't know how to throw strikes anymore. Yeah, okay. It is a football podcast. We'll move on from that, but yeah, we'll have to table that for during baseball season. We'll bring you back on to talk Royals. Let's talk Chase Claypool. The immediate reaction across almost all of my timeline was they gave up a second for Claypool. I can't believe it. This is terrible. I think this is the going rate for wide receivers. I like Claypool better maybe than others, because I think he was dragged down by quarterback play and offensive coordinators and play calling. I think I actually like them going out and getting Claypool.
I mean, I love this move. So I was really critical of this front office this offseason for basically just abandoning Justin Fields. And I mean, to a certain extent, I do get the front office being like, Nagy left us in a horrible spot. The roster stinks. The defense stinks. We traded a first round pick away that we don't have. Let's not do what the Jaguars are doing and go all in and try and, maybe even win the division this season. And I don't know, I don't hate what the Jaguars did either in terms of giving Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, at least some real NFL guys to throw to. Yeah. But I thought this was a total step in the right direction of being like, Fields is playing better than we thought. I like a month ago, I was leaving Fields for dead. I was like, this guy just doesn't have it. And they're calling these designed runs. That touchdown throw to N'Keal Harry against the Bears, that was totally not a throw that he would have made or would have even thought of making 6 weeks ago. And Claypool in his career has 264 targets and 32 rushes and has turned that into 14 touchdowns. I mean, the dude. And if you go look at all of the height, weight, speed stuff, and you combine, he's the number one guy in a database. I mean, he is unbelievably athletic, and he was a horrible scheme fit for Ben Roethlisberger, who just wanted to throw it 6 yards away to Deontay Johnson and Smith-Schuster. So his role got really marginalized. And this is the exact type of guy you should buy low on, like a guy who was insanely good, really young, wasn't a good scheme fit for his quarterback or his offensive coordinator. And also Tomlin doesn't like him. Like, remember that story last year of being like, yeah, Claypool like wanted to play music at the practices, and so it's like his head coach doesn't like him, not a good fit with the scheme, not a good fit with the quarterback. Like, yeah, that's a good bet to make.
Yeah, I'd agree. I saw some people argue that he's not a good blocker, that he was bad in the clubhouse. Yeah, he likes music. I mean, we did see some maturity issues on the field. That did happen. That was a thing that happened. It's true, but I'm willing to kind of see. I think people can get better as far as that goes. So I'm willing to look past that a little bit. I don't think that's too damaging in the overall picture. So I'm with you. I like this deal. I think this is what it costs to get a good receiver. And you see what the Vikings paid for Hawkinson, and I think the Bears paid less for Claypool for a position that they badly needed. I mean, you've got the 37-year-old rookie in Velus Jones. No, he's 25. I get it, but still, he's old for a rookie. There was plenty of reasons to criticize the Bears, with what they did in the draft, what they did in the offseason. This was a thing that was actually a positive. They're going to be in shootouts too. They traded away Quinn. They traded away Roquan Smith. It's going to be a lot of high-scoring games for the Bears coming forward.
Yeah, I mean, they're upcoming this weekend. We got the Bears versus the Dolphins, and probably the first main slate of the year that Justin Fields is like being considered as an option. Which and top streamer too. I'm adding him in a couple spots. Have like Dak on bye and things like that. Also, just have some teams that have never recovered from Trey Lance's season-ending IR. That Fields is looking like a pretty good ad right now.
Yeah, I actually have Fields. I used him as a stream for Mahomes last week. So
there we go.
That was a beautiful thing. That worked out pretty well. So yeah. And other leagues, I'm in the same boat. He is a great stream this week. I agree. And the Dolphins are going to put up a number too. The only thing that I think that could hold them back is the weather. And I know the weather might be a little shaky in Chicago this week, and that's something to watch for. Obviously, week 1, we learned that the hard way a little bit there, but I really like how Miami's firing on all cylinders right now.
I mean, Mike McDaniel, genius, right? A lot of teams use their great players as decoys, right? Moving them across. No, none of that. Mike McDaniel says, Tua, you have literally one job on this offense, and that is to deliver the ball to Tyreek. If Tyreek's not open, you deliver the ball to Jalen Waddle. That's your job. That's it. Mm-hmm. That is your only function. And who would have thought that just getting the ball as consistently as possible to your best players? I mean, we've seen this with the Vikings a little bit. They started out the year doing this. The whole offense was like, all right, we're going to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson 16 times. They've relented on that a little bit. But my guess is in high leverage situations, they're going to go back to that. We might see like a 14 catch Justin Jefferson game this season.
Yeah, I agree. Surrounding your young quarterback with talent and then letting him use it. It's a great plan. People should try that more often. Same thing in Philly. Hey, who knew going and trading for a really good wide receiver and then throwing it to him a lot? It works. Who knew?
Absolutely unbelievable. AJ Brown was available for 1 first-round pick. I mean, true. Like AJ Brown, if every player got thrown into the pool, XFL style, all the players got thrown into a pool and the franchises got to redraft. I think he's going top 15. Maybe top 20 because like left tackles are so important and there are some great edge rushers. But he's going as the third wide receiver after Jefferson and Chase. I think. I mean, he is to see him freed from that spot that he was in. With the Tennessee Titans, just playing the most like backward style football ever. It was really amazing.
Yeah, it is, and the funny thing is Tennessee is recovered because they're in the AFC South, and that helps a lot. But we'll see what happens on Sunday night in Kansas City because I think it's going to be a whole different style. First of all, they need Tannehill for this game. They can't play Malik Willis in this game and have him throw it 10 times. That's just not going to work.
Well, so this is actually my take. It's more valuable to the Titans organization to have a game where Malik Willis throws the ball 40 times than it is to get a 6-point loss at Arrowhead with Tannehill starting. They're going to win this division anyways. I mean, go look at this division and then look at the Tennessee Titans upcoming schedule. It's like unbelievable. So this division right now, They are 5-2. The next closest team is the 3-4-1 Colts. But the Titans get, I mean, just unbelievable. They get to play home to the Broncos, at the Packers. They might even be favored at the Packers. And then they get to close their season with the Chargers, Texans. I guess the Cowboys is kind of a hard game. And then at the Jacksonville, like they might get to 10 wins and not have had like one win over another good team. So I actually, and they would never do this if Tannehill's healthy, I would actually just throw Malik Willis to the Wolves and be like, we're going to play you out of the shotgun. You're going to throw 40 times. We don't care if you throw 6 interceptions. We got to, because if they have a good quarterback, even a top 20 quarterback on a 3rd-round rookie contract for 4 years, and they can let Tannehill go this offseason, I mean, that sets them. They just had to trade away A.J. Brown because they didn't have any money. That like changes the future of their franchise to find out if Malik Willis is passable.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they had some. They really were at a contract crossroads this offseason because they had to figure out, are they going to extend Brown or are they going to go, keep that defensive line? Are they going to keep Jeffrey Simmons happy? Are they going to keep Harold Landry happy? And then Harold Landry getting hurt was a big injury for them there too. It tied up a lot of their contracts to sign him back. They chose to keep Simmons and Landry and instead trade away Brown. The problem is Treylon Burks has been hurt and wasn't great before that. Who are they going to throw to? That's the problem, and that's why they'll never. I mean, I agree with you. They should be turning Willis loose, see what he has.
They totally won't though. Like if Tannehill's healthy enough, he's totally going to start for the rest of the season.
Right. And if Willis plays, they're totally going to play conservatively like they did last week. Even if it doesn't work, they have a less than 100% Robert Woods, Westbrook Ikini. I mean, if they had Burks back, maybe it'd be one thing too. They could actually have a threat out there. Even like the feel good story, Kyle Phillips is hurt. They don't even have that as an option right now.
They're playing like the most 12 personnel in the NFL because they're using Jeff Swaim and Austin Hooper. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to run NFL teams this way. I mean, I guess they did the right thing by drafting Burks. And he was starting to come on a little bit before he got hurt. I kind of thought he was going to explode the game before. He started out the game with like 18 yards on a deep target and then got an end around. And I was like, oh, it's coming. And then, he got the turf toe. I'll probably be, I actually kind of want him to stink the rest of this year or just not play because he is going to be like, if he's going in like the 11th round of drafts next year, I'll probably just have him on every like high stakes managed team, I would think.
Yeah. How much do you diversify in best ball versus managed teams? How much of a difference is there in how much you would choose to diversify there?
I'm diversifying pretty hard in best ball. I don't have anyone over 25%. Taysom Hill, my most drafted player, really good, eligible at tight end. But Albert O, my second most drafted player, not very good. Have a lot of, and that's why. In manage, though, I just want to do the best draft that I can every time. So it's like if I end up having a bunch of the same guys, I end up having a bunch of the same guys. But because I'm only doing the high stakes leagues, I'm only going to do depending on the year, 5, 6, 7 of those. And I don't want to be like, oh, well, I already have AJ Brown on this team, so I can't have him on both. If AJ Brown's just the guy, or, and it goes bad too. I have multiple Darren Waller teams. And that's obviously horrible. He's been useless, but I don't know. I just don't, because then you feel like you're gonna box yourself into you can't have that good of a year. The best year I ever had in these managed leagues was 2 years ago in the main event. I on 3 teams I had Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and I was like, oh, I'm literally gonna win $1 million. So I've just been chasing that ever since.
Sure, of course. And give you a perfect example. Last year, List was very strident in Cooper Kupp over Robert Woods. Because remember, they're going in the same area. Early 4th round. And he's like, no, I'm not going to diversify. I like Kupp better than Woods. I'm going to take him every time. Now, had he diversified, he would have had a miserable year. He would have been hating it because you could say they're the same value. No, they're not even close to the same. So that's the way it works out sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And that's actually an example of in best ball, I would take a little bit of Robert Woods just in case I'm wrong. But in managed, I was in best ball is the only spot where I'm going to take guys I don't like. I have a little bit of Najee Harris, who like I could have been on the third round in one of these managed leagues, and I'm not taking Najee Harris, but it's just like the cost of drafting 300 teams, and like it's kind of like doing Showdown, where like when I do Showdown, I'm still gonna have a little bit of guys I don't like at their salaries or whatever, because I don't want to group myself out of the best possible team if I get 5 other things right in my player pool. That's kind of like what it's like in best ball. It's like if I'm going to spend my whole summer drafting these teams and Najee Harris happens to be the guy you need in week 17 and I don't have him, like I'm going to be so miserable.
Right. Of course. I could see that happening. All of our podcasts are hosted by the Blue Wire Network. We'll play one of their ads right now. Thank you to the Blue Wire Network for hosting us. Thank you for indulging us in playing these ads. I'm with Davis Mattek. We're talking trade deadline, week 9, all things fantasy football. Davis, this week, really tough. 6 teams on bye. Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, Giants, Pittsburgh, San Francisco. I got a lot of Nick Chubb in the 3rd round, for instance, there. Tough week. Trying to find 30 running backs to rank, let alone the next 30. It's just an exercise in misery this week. Yeah,
it really is. I mean, definitely there are going to be some teams starting Jerick McKinnon this week. I mean, I guess maybe teams that held on to Deion Jackson. I just was going through waivers and found a couple teams where I did not drop Deion Jackson in last week's waiver run, feeling pretty good about that. Honestly, I think that this create a player starting for the Rams, Ronnie Rivers, I bet he finds his way into some people's lineups this week. I mean, it's because not only are there a bunch of teams on bye, not only are there a bunch of teams with injuries, there are more teams than ever playing 3 guys. And some teams were just, even with 2 guys, like the team is so bad, or they're just like, the Rams could just play 1 guy. The Rams could give Darrell Henderson 100% of the snaps, and I don't know if he'd crack 10 PPR points.
Right. I mean, that the state of that offensive line, the state of that offense is so miserable. I agree. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyron Williams gets activated and takes over, like gets 8 carries to Henderson's 5 to Rivers 4 or whatever. And then there's Malcolm Brown just sneaking in a goal line carry anyhow, just to tick us all off. I mean, it is just an exercise in misery. I'll be starting Rachaad White in leagues this week. I'll be starting.
I think he's fine. I think Rachaad White is like totally fine given the state. I bet he gets like 8 points here.
Yeah, he might. He very well might. We mentioned AJ Dillon. I have to start him in some places. I've got him right there with Jerick McKinnon in my rankings. McKinnon gets more snaps than anybody in KC, but it's just doesn't get goal lines, and just what does he do? I mean, I think everyone went a little crazy over Pacheco after that Rappaport report a couple weeks ago, but then he ended up not doing a whole lot, and then now they're coming off the bye. Pacheco's actually probably still available in some leagues.
And in fact, I bet he even got dropped a ton over their bye week. I mean, he's the classic example of a guy that, okay, I held on to him for 7 weeks. He's got like 8 points, never started him, never came close to starting him. It's their bye week. I got another injury, like maybe a Breece Hall team. So you lost Breece Hall. You got Pacheco on your bench going into the bye week. Like you got a bunch of guys to cut. He's out of there because you got to pick up Ty Johnson or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you cut Ty Johnson after they trade for James Robinson. Like, I don't even feel comfortable starting Robinson or Carter. I mean, I don't know what to do with the Jets backfield situation.
I think you can feel comfortable starting Carter. I mean, Carter he ran more routes, he got more targets. Like Carter is going to go into the role basically that Breece was in, just not be as good at it. And although I think James Robinson will probably get some goal line stuff. That will be really annoying. But Carter, very similar to Rachaad White. Actually, I think he probably grinds to 8 if he happens to catch a touchdown or stays in on the 2-minute drill instead of Ty Johnson coming in and catches a couple. Like, yeah, I mean, it's gross. But Carter probably is the top 25 running back this week. If I looked at rankings, like I would bet he probably has to be.
He's close. I have him at 28 right now. And I don't love the matchup against Buffalo, but then again, Green Bay did run well against them last week, so maybe that is viable. The Jets are just a mess with Zach Wilson, though, too. I mean, there's such a bad offense right now with that situation there.
I mean, it's horrible. Yeah. I mean, what is the plan at this point? Or we're benching Elijah Moore. We're just not going to play him. We're going to play Denzel Mims and Jeff Smith over him. Like that doesn't really make much sense to the organization, especially with Corey Davis out. And yeah, I mean, I think they've given Zach Wilson a lot of leash. They're happening to win some games right now, but yeah, I mean, they got to be thinking of like, well, what do we do? Do we draft a quarterback? Do we sign one of these stopgap guys, or do we become Carson Wentz's next victim? Like, what do we do? Because just don't. And Zach Wilson can make all the throws. I think that's what's even more frustrating about it. Like, Josh Rosen couldn't process the game and also couldn't make all the throws. Zach Wilson can make all the throws. He just like loses his mind when it's like they snap the ball and he just like blacks out. I have no way to explain it.
Yeah, it's auto scramble. It's like from the word go, he's looking to go, he's backpedaling, and it's a tough watch there. And I feel for Elijah Moore. I mean, I don't know what his situation is, why he became a decoy and not even getting on the field. 10 snaps last week with Corey Davis out. I mean, how does that even happen?
I mean, I guess Wilson is probably even better than they thought. Like, Wilson has been absolutely phenomenal.
Sure.
And that probably creates a little bit of a rift. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not ever really going to get mad at a wide receiver who's always open. I mean, you go watch like Elijah Moore last season. I think it was when he had 3.9 yards of separation at the catch. It was like more than Cooper Kupp, more than Devontae Adams. He was like always open. In games that Zach Wilson has not started in his career, he averages over 15 fantasy points per game. So it's like pretty frustrating probably for him to be like, yeah, I'm always open and I'm getting the ball when I'm playing with Flacco or Josh Johnson or Mike White, but this kid can't get me the ball. Like, why can't he get me the ball?
Yep. And then he had the temerity to be frustrated by it there, and that put him deeper into the doghouse. Meanwhile, Salah's like doubling down, saying, "Hey, we're 4-1 with Wilson starting." Like, okay, this isn't going to end well.
It's not. And I mean, this is another situation where the winning is causing suboptimal decisions. Like the fact that they've happened to win these games is leading them down a road that's squandering an asset. I mean, Elijah Moore is a positive value asset, and they're going to ride him to negative value, I think.
I agree. I absolutely agree here. Talking about problem decisions, Thomas asked Deion Jackson or Darrell Henderson this week.
Deion Jackson is going to be like a top 12 running back this week. If Jonathan Taylor is out, Nyheim Hines is gone. Mm-hmm. How many plays is Moss going to be able to get on? 10, 15, maybe. He didn't get traded on a Monday. He got traded on a Tuesday afternoon. So he's got like Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in the world, got traded on a Tuesday, and he was able to get in for, I think, 22 plays in his first game as a 49er. Zach Moss is not Christian McCaffrey. Yeah.
The only difference is it was Thursday night. It was
Thursday night
game. So a little different. And he had a cross-country flight and all that, but still.
Yeah, but he went to Stanford. He went to Stanford, though.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Moss isn't good either. That's the other thing, too.
There's no impetus to get him on the field the way there was an impetus to get someone like McCaffrey on the field, for sure.
Taylor didn't practice today either because of that ankle, so something to watch for sure. I mean, what do you do if you have Jonathan Taylor right now in like a managed league where you can make trades? Not the high stakes leagues, but your home league type of thing. Are you trading him? Are you trying to get what you can for him?
I mean, it would have to be. What are you getting? What? No one's going to give you close to draft day value. I think if we were ranking, like if we did another draft today, would it be like a 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick, probably something like that? I mean,
yeah,
I would trade him for the best wide receiver I could get. I would kind of survey your league mates and just kind of see what's out there. Like maybe a Chris Olave where he didn't have a good game last week, and then they had a bye week, right? 2 weeks ago, if I'm remembering that correctly. So your buddy who has Chris Olave might look at it and be like, he's kind of stunk. Yeah, sure. I'll take Jonathan Taylor. Like that's kind of what I would be looking at.
Sure. So Yahoo's got a trade market feature. I always like looking at that, see what trades have been made. And yesterday I looked at that. There was actually some players of decent value getting dealt. So, you have to look and see what they have. Like I'm pulling up today's to see what's happened so far. Here's some of the trades that have happened. Straight up, Taylor for Metcalf.
Easy.
Taylor for Hopkins, the same thing, I assume.
That's actually, after I just said that, I thought DeAndre Hopkins is literally the perfect guy to trade him for, where he just got 2 big games out of him. The guy held him on his bench and got his 2 big games, and now maybe he's ready to make a move. And I think that's the perfect guy to trade him for.
Yeah. Taylor for Mixon. my problem for your problem. I prefer
I was gonna
Taylor.
say I'd rather just hold Taylor at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Taylor for Jacobs. Jacobs has had his bye already. Taylor hasn't.
Oh
So
yeah, Jacobs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, I was
Total.
wrong on Jacobs, by the way.
Oh, so I mean, same. I don't have Jacobs in any of these leagues, and yeah, I mean, he got and not holding last week's Raiders performance against him, like the whole team just didn't show up. I wonder if it is going to come out that the whole team was sick because Devontae Adams didn't practice all week with the flu, and we've seen this happen a couple times in sports recently. Most notably, the Phoenix Suns, who just like totally no-showed at Game 7, and then it came out later they all had COVID and played anyway, basically. I wonder if they just everyone on the team had the flu, basically.
I think that's entirely plausible. I remember they said Adams had a severe case of the flu, and he only made one half of a practice, basically.
Yep.
I think that makes a lot of sense. We'll see. I mean, I know they did also call in Josh McDaniels, had a come to Jesus meeting with the management and McDaniels, which is kind of crazy. But then again, I saw what the expectations were for the Raiders, so I get it. That their season's kind of circling down the drain. They really need, can they turn it around in enough time, especially in a really tough division?
No,
I don't think so either.
Like, imagine being the worst team in a division that features the Denver Broncos. You're worse. You're worse than like the most disappointing. Are the 2022 Denver Broncos the most disappointing team compared to what we thought they were going to be of the modern NFL? They almost maybe the dream team Eagles, like when they signed Vince Young or whatever as the backup quarterback. I don't know.
There's got to be some others out there, but you're right. I mean, it gets pretty bad pretty quick. I mean, Brooklyn Nets this year might be right there with that, but we'll see about them.
Oh man, how bad are they? Absolutely, they're not even fun to watch either. That's like because Kevin Durant, Thunder fan, so I watch Kevin Durant, was my favorite player for a long time, and to see him play basketball without joy is just so brutal.
It is, and there is no joy. There is zero joy there.
None. He is showing up and punching that time card.
Steve Nash gets to go watch the World Cup. He wins out of this whole deal here. He gets freed. All right, we got to share another note from one of our sponsors, a new sponsor, NFL All Day. They are the officially licensed digital collectible of the NFL. It's a whole new way to express your fandom by owning the greatest moments from your favorite players and teams. Each moment of NFL All Day features a limited edition video highlight of one of the greatest plays from NFL's past or present. From OBJ's iconic one-handed catch to Patrick Mahomes' 5 touchdowns on 5 straight possessions to Brian Urlacher's 85-yard pick 6 against the Packers, there's truly a moment on NFL All Day for every fan. And it doesn't stop at being able to own a collection of your favorite moments, because NFL All Day rewards collectors for their fandom. You see, NFL All Day collectors have earned once-in-a-lifetime experiences, like literally going on stage at the draft to announce draft picks and meeting some of the biggest names from the 2022 NFL Draft at the NFLPA Rookie Premiere. What's the best way to get started? Head to NFLAllDay.com to sign up and redeem a free, limited edition NFL collectible featuring Patrick Mahomes. Don't miss out on NFL All Day's next-generation fan platform and start unlocking rewards and experiences today. While we're here, we're going to share another note from our other sponsor, Monkey Knife Fight. Football is officially back on Monkey Knife Fight with all the NFL action that you're looking for. And if college football is more your speed, they've got plenty of that too. On Monkey Knife Fight, there's no sharks, no salary caps, and no math. It's just easy to play, easy to win, daily fantasy player props. Join now at monkeyknifefight.com and you'll receive your first game free. Then use promo code RWNFL to get your first deposit matched instantly up to $100. So what are you waiting for? Join Monkey Knife Fight today. I'm here with Davis Mattek, and Davis does multiple fantasy sports. We heard us talking soccer earlier there too. Big day today. Who do you like today, by the way, in Champions League play?
I like the Shakhtar Red Bull Leipzig over. Shakhtar has to they have to win this game to advance. They're going to pass on goal difference. And generally speaking, when one team really has to push against another team that's way better than them, that is a recipe for like a 3 or 4. Oh, we saw that yesterday in a couple of those games. I think Victoria Pilsen scoring twice against Barcelona. I think those were maybe the first goals they'd scored in the entire group stage. So I think that is a spot I like.
I went to Prague for part of my honeymoon, so I always root for the Czech teams. But they were in a really ridiculous bracket there. They had no chance whatsoever. They're a dead team walking going in, but I was still rooting for them nonetheless. And when the Czechs did well in the Euro Cup a couple years ago, I was pretty happy to see that.
Yeah, the paternal side of my family is from the former Czechoslovakia. I guess it's the Czech Republic now.
Yep.
So I always root for them too, and I do love when their national team is good. Does not happen very often.
Yeah, exactly. Still love the beer. Still loved everything about that. Did Prague, Vienna, and Budapest for a honeymoon. You just got married. You just had your honeymoon, and rumor has it you were still trying to do drafts on the plane and things of that nature. Where was your honeymoon? And congratulations, by the way, too.
Thank you. We just did all inclusive in Jamaica. It was amazing.
Okay.
I mean, it's perfect for me. I think I read like 4 books when we were there. I mean, we just did nothing but sat by the pool all day. It was pretty nice. So I got a couple drafts in on the plane, and then I registered for a bunch of slow drafts, a bunch of slow Best Ball Mania 3s.
Okay.
And I honestly could have done way more. Like you got nothing to do. You're
Right.
truly just relaxing.
Yeah, you're on your phone anyhow. What's the difference
Yeah,
in what you're
exactly.
doing when you're on your phone? So yeah, I get it. We did a thing, Turks and Caicos a summer ago. A similar thing. Honestly, I need to be doing stuff. I need to be going and seeing sites and things of that nature. For like 4 days would be ideal for like a just hang out by the pool thing. And after that, I need to be off and doing things, playing golf, doing excursions, things of that nature. Otherwise I get bored pretty quick.
Next time I do it, or if we ever do it again, I would definitely want to go to one that had a golf course on site. I definitely that would have made it a lot better. Yeah.
Absolutely. I did not play around. I did not get off the property when we did. And that was a mistake.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you even have to rent clubs, it's still fine to do that. But let's talk about a couple other reactions from the trade deadline this week. Miami, they were very busy. Went out and got Bradley Chubb. They traded away Chase Edmonds. They added Jeff Wilson. What do you make out of all the sum of all these parts?
Lou, gotta be a loser for Mostert, right? I mean, Jeff Wilson Jr. came over because he knows McDaniel clearly. I mean, I think they basically the Edmonds thing. They were like, hey, we'll give you this first round pick, but you got to eat Chase Edmonds money for us. So I think that's kind of the transactional nature of that. But yeah, I would expect Mostert to not be the goal line back anymore for the Miami Dolphins. I think Wilson went from being a guy who was dropped in a bunch of leagues because they traded for Christian McCaffrey, and Elijah Mitchell might end up coming back. And now I think he's going to be in a 50-50 pretty much.
Yeah. It stunk that Wilson's going away party was that Atlanta game where he had that brutal fumble 6 and did very little in what we thought was going to be a pretty good spot. And it turned out to be that they were chasing the entire game. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's another guy. It's tough to decide how much he's going to play this week in his first week with Miami. But like you said, he already has the connection with the coach. System shouldn't be that hard to pick up.
I would have to be pretty desperate to start Wilson, but again, it's not going to surprise me if he gets 8 carries for 35 yards and a touchdown. Like,
right?
It's just because I bet the verbiage is probably the same. Like, I bet the playbook is different, but I bet all of the verbiage for what identifies the positioning and the plays inside of the playbook is the same as the Shanahan stuff, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would think so too. So yeah, it's a break class in case of emergency guy, but definitely someone you want to roster now for the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's now I think he's like a premium tier handcuff. The same way not quite as good as like Tony Pollard or Rachaad White, but like the second tier of really good handcuffs below that.
Gotcha. As far as Denver goes, are you dabbling in any of those 3 backs?
No, this has got to be the worst backfield situation in the league now, because I think Edmonds will play passing downs, Melvin Gordon will be first and second downs, and then Latavius will be goal line short yardage. Ugh. Like it's literally going to be a 3-way split on one of the teams that runs the fewest plays. And what are they? 18 points per game as like a team. It's like, would you start a 3-way timeshare on the 2021 Jacksonville Jaguars? Like, probably not.
Right. Exactly. There, could they fix things after the bye? Maybe. But I mean, the fact is their offensive line's a shambles right now. They lost their left tackle. I mean, that's a bigger impact than people realize. Russ is doing whatever he's doing. I mean, it's misery.
I mean, it's like I knew that there was a chance that Russ was not as great as I thought he was. Like it
Mhm.
was so easy for all of us to be like, oh, Pete Carroll, John Dorsey, these guys, they have no clue. Turns out they do. Turns out they have a lot of clues that were not available to us. Because I don't think Russ physically looks all that different. I don't think the deep ball looks all that different. I just think he can't. I don't know. I don't have a good explanation for it, but I do know he looks horrible, and the offense is. I think the weapons are well. Maybe the answer is that Sutton and Judy are not as good as Metcalf and Lockett. Maybe that's part of the answer.
I think that's part of it. We thought, oh, they're going to unlock Sutton. I can't wait. They're going to unlock Judy. I have Judy in a dynasty league. I'm like, yes, I'm turning down these trade offers for him. Oops. I still think Judy can play. I still think he's good, but I don't know. And it turns out Geno Smith is not the joke that everybody thought he was either. He's actually pretty decent.
Probably the best story of the year, right? Is
Yeah.
Geno being this journeyman veteran quarterback who like got done dirty by all these organizations, and then turns out maybe should have been starting, over the Ryan Fitzpatricks of the world this entire time.
Yeah. It just makes you wonder, like, what happens when a guy gets, if a guy gets drafted by a different organization. I feel that way. Like, what if Sam Darnold got drafted by a real organization? He still might have stunk, but if he got drafted by a team where he had a fighting chance and didn't have Adam Gase and didn't have Matt Rule, I mean, it's just, well, maybe he could have
I
been
mean,
decent.
you see what happened with Bailey Zappi. I mean, Bailey
Yeah,
Zappi was rotting away on the end of the Raiders bench. I don't think we ever would have heard from him, but he's Bill Belichick, like all these guys. I don't know. I guess maybe that's a bad example because we don't think the Patriots offensive coordinator is I mean, we have no idea what their offensive coordinator situation is, I guess, but
right.
I'm just really mad at the Patriots because in the pentathlon league that you and I are in,
Ugh.
they cost us a very important survivor point. We had gotten very lucky. Sammy and I co-own a pentathlon team, and we'd gotten very lucky in survivor, and then they get blown out by the Chicago Bears. That was horrible.
That was horrible. Survivor, usually I'm really good at. This year I've been out quicker in Survivor than Kramer in the contest. It's just like that. I'm done. It's just, usually I'm really good at Survivor. This year I did this. I plunked down for Circa out in week 1. It was terrible. Just awful year for me.
Yeah, that was us last year. Sammy and I had an awful go in Survivor and everything. I personally like the double strike format when you're
Yep.
playing a smaller number of people. I think for a massive 50,000 person contest or whatever, it's just one strike and you're done. But I think
For
there's
sure.
actually more strategy and a little bit more thinking the way that we're doing the pool this year. Where it's after next week we go to double picks and stuff. It's like I like that wrinkle.
Indeed. Indeed. Mikey asked about Keenan Allen. We got to wait to see if he practices. He didn't
I don't
practice
think he's going to
yesterday.
play. I think plan on him not playing. I think pick up DeAndre Carter on waivers tonight.
Agreed. I know you got a lot of work to do, Davis. You got like multiple podcasts. Tell everybody where they can find your work.
They can follow me on Twitter at Davis Mattek. They can listen to the Sports Grid Fantasy Football Podcast. They can listen to the Takecast if you just search my name on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts. All of those will pop up. And I'm about to go do the Swolecast here in about 5 minutes. So if they really want to hear me talk more, they can come and listen to that.
Very cool. Hey, thank you for spending some time with me today. I know you're a busy man. It was really fun. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always appreciate it. Always love to support RotoWire. Great pillar of the fantasy community. I always appreciate you guys.
You bet. Awesome. Good stuff there. Go check out Davis's work. Go listen to the Swolecast coming up next. Thanks for listening to RotoWire. Have a great day.